This is the second of a two-part season premiere of Season 6 of My Favourite Game. If you want to go back and listen to the first part of this two-part premiere, then check out playdiaries.com and all the podcast platforms for all the details. Here is the second part of our season premiere, Aoife of Real on Mass Effect 3. I think Mass Effect 3, like, especially, so I always try and encourage this now whenever someone goes through a playthrough of Mass Effect 3, whether that's for the first time or for a new run through with the Legendary Edition. For the love of Christ, please, 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 I beg you, if you trust me on one thing, if you take my advice on one thing, please play Citadel before the end of the game.
Oh my God, yes. That should be like a mandatory warning. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it makes such a huge difference.
I could literally do an entire episode of My Favorite Game on Citadel. I feel like I could.
It's the best DLC ever made, okay?
I don't know if I would say they're the best, but it's certainly like top 3 at least with GTA 4 stuff, like especially Gay Tony and The Last of Us Left Behind.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Like,
but I mean, it's like, especially if you play it before the end of the game, like you said, because it's the perfect reprieve from the stress that you are, going up against. And it's such a perfect idea. Like, I don't know how they even pitched this. It was just, let's just have fun. Like, this is such a tense game. You just, like, you're literally preparing for war the whole game. And the stakes are so high, as we've said, and there's so much pressure. And then Citadel DLC is just, do you want to have fun? It's like, it's wonderful. Like, the clone storyline is hilarious. Shepard's lines in this are hilarious. And of course you get everyone together for the party. And it's also, it's kind of tinged with sadness, because if you're playing it before the end of the game and you get these little moments with the characters, you do feel like you're maybe saying goodbye.
Exactly. That's sort of why I love Citadel so much, because it feels like such a goodbye moment, but also in a way that really doesn't take itself too seriously. Whereas, the game up until that point, albeit with a few moments here and there, it is very serious, and for good reason. And the DLCs especially as well. But with this, it's not as serious. It takes the piss, it takes the mick out of itself. Like, it's just basically like, I don't know how else I would describe it, but the only way I think I can sort of describe it is if basically Mass Effect just basically sort of, if you were sort of held in a pod and then you just sort of have these sort of things stuck to your head, and instead of this sort of big drama, Mass Effect is just this big massive comedy type thing.
Yes, exactly. It's like they made Mass Effect into a comedy, and it's so meta as well. It's so self-referential. Like, isn't there a moment where Shepard's like, I don't sound like that. Do I sound like that? And then like she starts repeating her lines as like, I don't sound like that.
Exactly. Like, Like,
So
I should go.
I should
I
go.
should, I
I
should
should go.
go. I should go.
Yeah,
I should go.
it's
Like,
just fantastic. Yeah, I love it. I love it so much. It's so well done. It's so funny. It's so
like,
tongue in cheek.
I actually I put together a small video. I put it in Twitter, like, after I finished up Legendary Edition, and it's just, for me, I think what makes Citadel so perfect is some of this I put in the video of all the clips. Like, it's the humor, the fan service. Like, it really makes it worthwhile. And like, it's not just the likes of, Shepard just basically going, I should go. Do I really sound like that? And just sort of lampooning themselves and stuff like that there. But also moments like the party in the apartment and Shepard's really bad dance just going like,
Yes. I'll just take the piss out of her. It's so good. Yeah. Yeah.
and Joker as well is just like,
oh, he's relentless.
he's relentless in that DLC. It's just like, especially during the party, and he just gives this massive 2-minute long laugh
Yes.
about him dancing. It's just like,
oh, I mean, it's so respectful of the bond you have with these characters as well, because it's like this kind of DLC wouldn't make sense if, or maybe it would, but I don't think it would mean as much if you hadn't played 1 and 2. But like, they really, like, they understand what you've been through with these characters, and that you care about them, and that you're trying to protect them. And yeah, this was the perfect way to get everybody in one place, just have fun with it, but also, kind of reference the connections that you've built up. It's great. Such a great idea.
and another thing I have to mention about Citadel as well that I absolutely adore is, again, because it goes back to that sort of element of not taking itself too seriously, being this sort of funny lampoon of what Mass Effect is.
Yes.
There's this moment in where you're new human specialist trainer, and she's in the sort of chess tournament, and like,
oh yeah,
and then you're meant to meet with her for lunch. It's like, oh shit, I was meant to be meeting you for lunch rather than take part in this chess thing. And then her biggest rival and competitor just comes up and goes, well, you'll be joining her soon enough. And it just sort of turns off that sort of spaghetti western like standoff.
Oh my god, yeah, I'd forgotten about that part. So good.
and it's somehow, and I know this because inadvertently I ended up dating Trainer in Mass Effect 3.
Oh my god, so did I.
Shepard basically gives off this sort of, there's this line Shepard says basically where if you don't beat her, what was the line? I'm trying to think of the line, but I know it's at the tip of my tongue. Basically, my bed's only for winners. And it goes back to that sort of spaghetti western aspect.
Yes. Oh my god. Yeah. I accidentally ended up dating Trainers. Trainer was sneaky, okay?
She was.
Yeah, she was sneaky. I didn't mean to date her. I was just trying it on, for sure. Oh
well. But I think that sort of speaks to what Citadel as a piece of content sort of stands for, because it is, I don't know if I have any other words to sort of describe Citadel other than it being one of the best DLCs of all time. Like, certainly in the top 3 anyway, at least in my opinion anyway, because like, for me, it builds on that world build, not even necessarily world building, the character building. Like, it absolutely epitomizes once and for all, and what is basically the last big content drop that team did for the trilogy. It epitomizes how beloved these characters are, how beloved the story is, and just how well meant they are. Because, like, for me, Citadel is just, there are so many words I could sort of lavish praise on, but I would be here for hours and hours upon hours, basically, so I won't. But like, Citadel is, for me, so strong, so powerful, and like, it's the opposite of what Mass Effect is, but it works. It just works, basically.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's a really good way to describe it. It's the opposite. It's especially for 3, it's the opposite of what that game is. And yet it's perfect. Yeah, I mean, my friend who first introduced me to Mass Effect, she was so excited for me to play it. And like with good reason, because yeah, it's you're not ready for it. You know, like you're not ready for you're in this really tense game, like high pressure, war is coming, war is here actually. Gotta, get all my resources. And then it's just like from the minute the Citadel starts, it's taking the piss. It's just so good.
It's just like there is no. If I start, I'll keep going all night, and like we'll be here until basically sunrise tomorrow morning doing so. So I won't get into it, but like, yeah, that like if you really need such good play Citadel, just play Citadel like before the game comes to a head, and I think on that aspect, like it's fitting that I mentioned the ending because like Citadel, I think for me is such a massive do good moment for BioWare in terms of, or not do good, sorry, but make good moment in terms of what happened a year earlier with the ending, because like the ending was, I've said this before, I did not like the ending of Mass Effect 3, but at the same time, I'm hardly going to go knocking on BioWare's door and say, change the ending. I did not pay £40 for this ending. I did not pay for such stakes or such a payoff to happen. No, this is my story. How dare you change the ending? No, I did not like the ending, but I'm not going to knock up on BioWare's door and just say change the ending. Right. I dare. And I think for me, actually, Citadel actually makes the ending feel a lot more. I don't know if I would say I'd still necessarily like the ending, but at least justifies the ending a little bit. It feels like the ending is a bit more worthwhile than it was before Citadel came out anyway, and like after expanded cut came out. So I guess on that aspect, and like on the ending, like talk to me about endings, and because like as a writer, like I know this much, endings are hard to do, but with Mass Effect, there is weight. Again, comes back to the weight aspect of it, because like the judge, the consequences, stakes, and stuff like that there. And yeah, I mean, like we know endings are hard to write. How hard though?
Yeah, it's interesting. So I controversial opinion, but I kind of figured the endings were what I expected them to be. Like you get your 3 choices, which makes sense because you've had 3 choices all the way through from the start. And I think endings are hard, you're right. But I think this ending was particularly hard because it's ending 3 games. And also, didn't they have part of it leaked, like pretty close to launch?
Yes, that's right.
And I think they had to make some big changes last minute, and that's not fun. So I'm actually really curious, like what the original intention was and how much these endings deviated. But like, the destroying the Reapers is what you wanted from the beginning, right? So you think, yes, going to destroy. Totally. That's what I'm here for. Don't talk to me about anything else. I'm going to destroy the Reapers. But it's presented as maybe the best choice. But you're also given reason to pause and to think about it. It means that you are going to destroy all synthetic life. And who are you to make that choice? So, I can understand how, you've been fighting for this whole time. So maybe players wanted it to feel like more of a victory and wanted it to be more kind of conclusive. I had chosen, when I first played through, I was Paragon, and I wanted to destroy the Reapers because that's what I'm here for. And I had built up enough of the readiness or whatever it was so that my shepherd lived at the end. And I was delighted. So for me, that was kind of like the best ending, even though it's also grim. Like I feel like it's my canon ending. But in my Renegade playthrough, I ended up choosing Synthesis. And I think that was probably an odd choice for my Renegade chef, but I never tried the other ending. So I was like, let's just see what it's like. And I regretted it instantly. It felt wrong for me to choose that all of life would become part organic and part synthetic. It was kind of, I think it was presented as the ultimate, like, why not both, cop out, but I felt wrong about it, even though it's probably, technically speaking, one of the better endings because nobody gets hurt. But in a way, I guess everybody gets hurt too. Everyone is forever changed. But and I never chose control because it never felt right to me that Shepard would control the Reapers. Like, that's not who she was. But it's interesting too, because in the end, it's kind of maybe the most noble choice, because you sacrifice yourself, or Shepard sacrifices herself, by becoming an AI, and everyone is fine. So yeah, it's weird. And I've never tried the refusal ending. I didn't even know about it. I found out about that online. And I don't understand what happens then if you refuse. What happens to the Reapers?
I think basically they just sort of do as they said they were going to do. I think they just sort of destroy across each life, not destroy across each life, but just basically destroy. They just basically keep going as they were meant to anyway. And there's this bit at the end where Liara sort of plays this sort of message for those far, far, far flung in the future who have to take on the Reapers and just say, this is the mistakes we made, this is what we did, and then it goes off, credits.
Yeah, I don't think that sounds right either for Shepard, because Shepard didn't go through 3 games to say nah at the end.
Nah.
Yeah, so it's interesting. I think I agree with you. Endings are definitely hard, and this one had so much to wrap up, and like, the Reaper threat was presented so credibly throughout all the games, and then the stakes were huge. Like, the end of this game, like, Earth is on fire, just like it was at the start. Like, people are dying, and you have to put a stop to this. But yeah, I don't know what I would have done differently, because I wonder what other options were there. I think the control option makes sense, because that's what, like, Darren thought he was doing in one. Destroy option, of course, makes sense because that's what you're here to do. I thought the synthesis option was very interesting, because I don't think, and unless maybe I missed something, but I don't think, I mean, organic and synthetic life were always kind of presented at odds with each other throughout the series. And for some reason, I didn't see it coming that one of the options would be, let's just bring them together and everyone's going to be fine. But I think, yeah, it was an interesting commentary on, like, you can solve problems by merging them. But yeah, I don't think, it doesn't feel like it was a good option. I tried it just to see what would happen, and it didn't feel good. Like, seeing everybody kind of get taken over and become something new kind of rubbed me the wrong way. But yeah, I'm curious as to what other options there could have been, and what options players wanted to see that they didn't get to see. Like, did they want Destroy to feel like more of a victory? I'm not too sure if that would have been right, because a lot of these games are about sacrifice as well. So yeah. What did you hate about it? Tell me.
I think now I have a better understanding of it, but it feels like at the time anyway, it felt like there was not enough of a weight to the choices I made at the time. I think that was sort of the more common criticism of the end. It just felt like a lot of the things that I had done at that point, whether by accident or by choice, had been made moot essentially.
I see.
But again, that was probably one of the more common criticisms that they had in the face. To be fair, the expanded, not the expanded thing, the extended cut, I think gave me a bit more of understanding and sympathy of what BioWare tried to do with the end, because again, endings are hard, and it gave me a better understanding to what they tried to do with it. And like all they did with the extended cut was just basically add on 2 or 3 something like cutscenes with each ending, and then a more expanded upon epilogue or something like that there. They sort of give more context to each ending. And like at that point I was like, yeah, I'm still not all the way there, but I get it.
Right.
And now playing through, I'll say this much: when I played through Mass Effect 3 originally, like nearly 10 years ago at this point, it was, I don't know if I would necessarily say I was angry, because I wasn't angry, but I was annoyed. I was definitely annoyed, but I wasn't angry, just very annoyed.
Right.
But when I played through Mass Effect, when I finished up Mass Effect 3, playing the Legendary Edition earlier this year, I actually was somewhat emotional, because I think maybe it was to do with the fact that I was playing all these games back to back to back and near enough one sitting on, no, not one sitting, but like in basically one go, basically, like over the course of, what was it, 10 days, 2 weeks, something like that there. And what stuck out for me is how emotional I felt like finishing up Mass Effect 3 at 7 a.m. on a Sunday morning. Like it felt like I was 21 when I finished up Mass Effect 3. I'm 30 now, and I think I realized that, yeah, at that time I was definitely annoyed, but now looking back upon it, it was just like, yeah, but do I want to spend my time being annoyed, having this much energy wasted on being annoyed on such an ending for a video game? And I think also as well, I think the fact that I was playing Citadel before the end of the game especially helped add to that. I think that was the sort of turning point as well, because like before playing the end of the game 10 odd years ago, there was no sort of goodwill there. Well, not goodwill there, but like at least there was no, for lack of a better term, there was no goodwill there when you're playing something like Citadel. Whereas with Legendary Edition, I was playing through Citadel just before the end of the game. And like I said, I made sure to play Citadel towards the end of the game anyway, because it feels a lot more worthwhile.
Yeah.
It actually for me justifies the ending a little more, I think. So I think for me, Citadel did a lot more to help sort of soften my stance on the ending a lot more than it did 10 odd years ago, even with the extended cut edition. Like the extended cut edition, it gave context and made me sort of think, all right, I still don't like it, but at least I have a little understanding of it now. Whereas with Citadel, it made me realize, just, okay, endings are hard, endings are difficult. Well, I already knew that ahead of time anyway, but like it made me sort of understanding of what was going on anyway.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point, because I realize now that my first experience of Mass Effect was probably not the experience a lot of people had. Because like I said, I played it for the first time in 2017. I played them back to back as well. And I played the Citadel DLC before the ending of 3. So I definitely had a different experience. Like, I don't know how I would have felt if I played 3 when it came out and I had not played 1 and 2 in a while, and there was no Citadel DLC. Like, it's very likely, because context is everything, right? I mean, it's very likely that I might have been disappointed as well. Yeah, so I think that's a really interesting point. As it stands, I didn't feel completely happy about any of the choices, but then I kind of figured that was the point, because this was never going to end well. Like you wanted to be the hero of the galaxy or the universe or whatever, but it was never going to be that easy.
I think the thing is as well, we all sort of expected a self-sacrifice moment from Shepard anyway.
Yeah.
I think it's just, I think at that time it didn't feel earned.
Yeah, I think I think the destroy feels the best, especially if
Yeah.
you manage to get her to live at the end. But even if she died doing it, she died doing what she set out to do, and that feels satisfying. I don't think her taking control of the Reapers feels right for her character. It kind of, that feels like a corruption of her.
Mhm.
And yeah, what happened? The synthesis one. No, that never felt right with me. I don't know. I think, yeah, maybe that was a problem some other people had with it too. I haven't spoken to enough people about it, but maybe they felt like Destroy was the only one that really made any sense, and they tried to make it feel like it didn't make sense. And then Synthesis and Control were kind of just there. Like I could totally understand that perspective.
Mm. I think as well, when it comes to that regard, oh, shit, I just completely lost my train of thought. But I think when it comes to, it's like you say, it is never expected to go well. Because like I said, you sort of expect Shepard to sort of make that self-sacrifice, and again, Destroy feels like the best ending of the lot. And if you're so for the original playthrough I did for Mass Effect 3, I don't think Shepard lives. I think she died, but in the Legendary Edition, she survived that run through, and I think that makes things interesting in regards to the future, and we'll touch upon that in a second. But I think, in that regard, it's I don't quite know how to sort of finish that thought, but like again, it comes back to this sort of aspect of making a good ending and making it stick. And so again, it comes back to endings are hard. How do you go about making a good ending, basically?
Yeah, I think it has to be. I think you touched on this earlier, but it has to be an ending that honors your choices, especially if it's a choice-based game, you know. And yeah, you kind of said that you felt like the endings made your choices moot, and that's not going to be a good feeling. Yeah, I think in a choice-based game, absolutely, you need to honor what the player has had options up to this point. The ending needs to honor that. And it needs to have the emotional resonance as well. Maybe people felt that was kind of missing from 3, or which is why they added the extra cutscenes probably to kind of show, well, look, this is what happened and it's okay. I mean, if you felt like you missed out on seeing the consequences of your actions when the entire trilogy is about the consequences of your actions, then yes, I can absolutely see how that's a problem as well. Yeah, so I think good endings, they're definitely hard, but they need to honor what's come before. They need to feel like they matter, and what has come before matters. And I think they really need that emotional resonance as well. Like you need to feel invested in the ending. You need to feel like the payoff is there.
Yeah, like there has to be a sort of emotional payoff as well, which is why I think things like endings like let me try and think of a few off the top of my head. Life is Strange, Uncharted 4, Metal Gear Solid 3, Journey, like those games, like they have endings. Regardless of the context, they feel, and Spider-Man as well, I should mention as well, like Insomniac Spider-Man, they have endings that feel emotional. They have emotional payoffs.
Yeah.
And I feel like with Mass Effect 3, it didn't quite get that.
Yeah, I think it's interesting actually. You brought up Journey. I cried at the end of Journey.
Okay.
And I'm thinking back to my experience at Mass Effect 3 was relief. Because Shepard lived. That's all I wanted. But yeah, I mean, I think I don't know where my emotions were at. I think I was very wrapped up in making the right decision, because the entire trilogy is about the right decision, and like you've come so far. Oh my God, I did not want to mess this up. I wanted to have a satisfying ending. So yeah, it's interesting because I don't know if I was as emotionally involved as I should have been. I think maybe I was overthinking it to make sure that I got what I wanted. So yeah, that's a really interesting point.
And I think as well, and like, well, like this is the last that I'll touch upon in the ending anyway. But like, especially with some of the games I mentioned, they provide that sort of emotional payoff with their endings in different ways. Like for me, anyway, Metal Gear, like I basically lost myself anyway in those games anyway in regards to sort of. I was basically crying, but with all these games anyway. But like with context, you get an understanding of that sort of emotional payoff anyway. Like with Metal Gear Solid 3 and Life is Strange, I was crying because of grief.
Mm.
With Uncharted 4, I was crying with happiness because like you get to see this sort of payoff with the Drakes, and you see them sort of make do not make do, but you get to see that happy ending.
Yeah.
And Journey's one is the hardest to explain, but like yeah, like you say, I cried at that as well. But like it feels even more powerful when you finish the game going through the light or going through the gates or
Yes.
whatever with someone else
Oh
rather than
my
just
God.
by yourself.
Yeah, I think that is one of the best examples of like a multiplayer co-op. You know, it's all about cooperation, and it's very beautiful and it's a very different experience playing with someone else. Yeah, and that ending is euphoric, like
Mm.
for want of a better word. You know, I mean, oh God, what a gorgeous game. Love Journey.
I mean, yeah, I mean that's probably the best way to describe it in the end, basically. um, so yeah, Legendary Edition came out earlier this year. We both played it. We both love it. Basically, like I think that's sort of the best way to sort of describe it anyway, because it's just basically Mass Effect, but with everything sort of brought together except Pinnacle Station because Bioware lost the source code. Uh, I felt really good going back to play that game and just sort of exploring those sort of feelings again, just sort of revisiting the games again, especially because they made so many um, improvements and quality of life aspects like to every game, especially Mass Effect 1. Mass Effect 1 feels like a remake in a way without actively being a remake, but
Mm,
it's straight up the line between remaster and remake. And I think what happened there was just, I think the work in that is just beyond incredible. And also they sort of bring it back to the start of the episode, like it feels a lot more actiony now than full on RPG in a way. It just sort of makes everything feel cohesive.
yes. Yeah, absolutely. I think even is it my imagination, or did the Mako get easier to drive?
Yes.
I didn't flip upside down so much.
Like you're still flipping upside down and it's still finicky, but it's not as finicky as it was when playing it on Xbox 360 anyway.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah, I totally agree. It is. It feels very cohesive, and I had a very different experience with Legendary Edition than I had before, because I decided. I think I said this before, but I decided to do a full Renegade run, um, and because I always felt too guilty picking the mean options before. But this time I was like, no, I don't care. I don't care. My shepherd's in a bad mood the whole time. She doesn't care who you are. So I did it. I think there were some times when I had to choose Paragon if I wanted something to happen, like for Morden, for example. But yeah, I played Renegade all the way through and I had a blast. I had no idea how much fun it is to play Renegade. Like, she's so sarcastic and she's so sassy and she just doesn't give a shit. It's just, oh, I had a lot of fun with it. It was very, like, very fulfilling. Yeah, it was awesome.
It feels like when you're playing as a renegade, it just feels like a totally different shepherd, basically.
Yeah, but I mean, like I said before, it's still true to her. Like
Mm.
it's her at her worst, but it's still her. And I love that because they really like, I think they spent a lot of time and love on her character and defining her morals, because obviously as Paragon, she's got a very strict, moral compass. But she's not the goody goody, like I said,
Mm.
she's her own person, and you either catch her at her best or you catch her at her worst, but it's still her. I love that. I Yeah, she's such a great character.
Um. So, Elephant in the Room, Mass Effect Andromeda. I
Well, you clearly love it from from your tone. It was your favorite, right?
clearly my favorite. It's my favorite game ever. It's my favorite game in the Mass Effect series.
I
I
knew it.
love it. So good. Oh, what
Oh,
what happened?
yeah. I don't know. I mean, I think it probably got an unfair amount of hate because I think it was up against impossible odds. Like everyone loves the Mass Effect trilogy, even if they hated the ending. They love the Mass Effect trilogy,
Mm.
and it had so much to live up to. But yeah, I only played it once. Really sorry for if anyone's listening who worked on it. But yeah, I only played it once, and I think I was asking too much from that game as well because I wanted the Mass Effect nostalgia,
Mm.
and Andromeda was fun. Like, don't get me wrong, like that game was fun, but I didn't feel for it or for its characters the way I did with the trilogy.
Mm.
I don't think the emotional connections were there to the same extent. Some of the characters were very good, but they weren't. Maybe I'm asking for too much, but they didn't have that same warmth that that the other characters did, and they didn't capture my imagination in the same way, and neither did the storyline. The stakes did not feel high, and I don't always need high stakes to enjoy a story.
Hmm.
but it's just, it didn't feel, I don't know.
I think you just basically nailed why Andromeda just did not sit right with me. It's not necessarily to say it's a bad game. It's just
Mhm.
it was basically I don't know if I would even say boring game, but I would say it was definitely unappealing, for the lack of a better word, because like I didn't feel connected with these characters. Certainly a lot more so than I did with the Mass Effect trilogy, anyway, with the Shepard trilogy. I didn't feel as sort of tied in, connected, and invested to these characters in the story with Mass Effect Andromeda than I did
Mhm.
Mass Effect 1, 2, and 3. And like the gameplay itself was good. It was very good. The gameplay, the moment gameplay of the action stuff and was good. And like, running on Frostbite, like it looked incredible too. But like
Mhm.
again, it it takes two to tango in terms of having this sort of cohesive mix of gameplay and story. And while the gameplay was great, it was just sort of the narrative and story elements that sort of let the side down, basically, in
Yeah.
regards to Andromeda.
I remember there were parts that I liked for sure. Like the remnant gameplay was always kind of fun, like figuring out those puzzles, and it was very beautiful. And I remember the character that I remember, the companion character I remember the most was PB.
Mm.
I think it's PB, right?
Yeah,
She was
yeah.
the Asari. And she was fun, but I think, and this might be unfair because maybe I didn't give their individual storylines enough attention, but they didn't feel as nuanced or as detailed. Like she was fun for who she was, but she felt a little flat. She was the fun sassy one, and that was kind of it.
Mm.
And maybe there was more to her that I missed, but yeah, it was lacking the connection for me for sure. And I think I feel bad for that team because they had so much, like, they knew everyone was going to make these comparisons. Like they
Mm.
they could not escape these comparisons.
Yeah.
So like it was almost like they were set up to fail from the beginning. Like I don't know how how they managed that pressure. Because yeah, they weren't allowed to be their own thing. Like
Mm.
they had to compete with something everyone already loved, and
Yeah.
that's rough. Yeah, I think there are parts of it that were definitely great. It was definitely fun gameplay, like you said. Though there were these, oh my God, I don't remember what they were called, but they had these enemies that were they were floating in these orbs. They were so damn hard to kill. I just remember being so frustrated every time I encountered one of them. But yeah, I remember it being fun, but if I'm going to replay a Mass Effect, it's going to be one of the originals.
Mm. I think we just sort of got to basically why Andromeda just sort of I don't want to say bombed, but I think for the lack of a better word, like it failed because like in comparison to Mass Effect 1, 2, and 3, is that it had an albatross tied to it, like in regards to the narrative and the characters. It feels like, was it ever going to live up to anything that was done like in the 10 odd years after Mass Effect 1 came out and the games that came after it? And of course, that, like as we've sort of alluded to there, the answer was no.
Yeah, I mean, I can't imagine the pressure that they were under. And I think as well, like I said before, I think it got an unfair amount of hate. Like, there were definitely legitimate criticisms to make, but people wanted Mass Effect 4, basically, you know, and they were really mad that they didn't get it. Yeah, I mean,
I understand why they made that sort of separation from the trilogy, like just to sort of make that for a start. But I feel like at the same time as well, there's too much of a sort of connection made as part of those three games to sort of get rid of with Andromeda anyway.
Yeah, I think as well, the character of Ryder for me just did not hit the same way Shepard did. And again, like, you know, that's not fair for me to want Shepard. But yeah, I think Ryder felt like more of a blank slate to me. Her person, well, again, I played female Ryder. Her personality didn't feel as defined as Shepard. Yeah, I don't know. It's interesting because I think I played it in the early days. I played it when it was first released, and it suffered a lot with there were a lot of bugs, and you know, I don't blame any game for that. Like, they got them sorted out, and I'm sure it runs beautifully now. But because it was under the microscope and it was getting so much hate, there were all these like memes made as well of like bad animations and stuff. And yeah, I feel bad for that team because you know, that's pretty rough. But yeah, it didn't live up to the original trilogy. And maybe it was too much to hope that it would, because like you said, it did try to remove itself from that. But I did really love, they had some recordings, didn't they, from Liara in that game, and kind of connecting some things that had happened before, and I loved that. I love that little throwback. Yeah, I think there are some cool parts for sure. But yeah, in the end, it's not my favorite Mass Effect game. Let's just say that.
I don't think it's going to be at the top of anyone's Mass Effect list. Let's be honest. But to give Andromeda some credit here, it does feel like there is still going to be a massive element of Andromeda as part of the next game, because the next Mass Effect game is coming, and we saw the trailer from the Game Awards last year as of recording this, and like it seems like now they're going to bring both the Andromeda and Shepard sort of arcs together, basically, and like that in itself does feel very exciting, especially seeing some of the characters again. Like, we saw the N7 insignia, we saw the sort of abandoned frozen Reaper, and we saw what is more than likely Liara, but we did see the sort of Andromeda galaxy aspect as well. Like, I'm really excited to see what happens next. I don't know if we'll necessarily see it for a long time yet, because like BioWare is obviously focused on the next Dragon Age game, even though they've got several teams going at once. But like, what are you hoping for? What are you hoping for?
Oh God, I think the safest thing is to not hope.
That is sound advice.
I mean, I was shocked to see they're making this game. I freaked out about the trailer. It's beautiful. And then I stepped away from it. I didn't read any more about it. I was like, they're going to make something gorgeous, I'm sure. I think that they will probably learn a lot from Andromeda. And, you know, hopefully that, you know, this game can help Andromeda, because it's very likely people might replay it in a few years' time and be like, you know what? This game didn't deserve the hate. So yeah, but I'm very excited, but I'm going to try as much as I can to go into it like completely blank slate, like just no expectations, just show me.
Full on media blackout.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's going to be hard because it's going to be everywhere. But yeah, it's like I always try to do that when I'm very excited about a game. I want no expectations for it, even though that's kind of impossible. But because you're going to get what you're going to get, and I don't, I don't kind of want to labor it with hopes and dreams before I get to experience it. So
no, definitely. So what else do you like about Mass Effect 3 that we've not touched upon tonight?
Okay, so this is going to sound dumb, but
there is no dumb opinion on this show.
One of my favorite things about Mass Effect 3 is the Reaper sound.
Oh my God!
Good. It's so good. I mean, when they'd pop up in systems that you were in, and you have to fly out as soon as you can, and you hear, bah. Oh my God, it freaked me out every single time. Doesn't matter how many times it happened, I would freak out. I love it. It's just, the Reapers, the threat of the Reapers was already like so big. That probably helped a lot, but the sound, that's an iconic sound as far as
it is an iconic sound. You hear it near enough every trailer for Mass Effect 1 and 2.
Yeah.
And it just sort of scratches a massive itch in my head.
Yeah.
I'm just like, I love this. It's such a weird, nerdy, dorky thing they sort of gush about. But I get it. I get it because I'm also that person.
I love it. I even like if I'm going on systems, I'll scan a few times to be like, see if I can get one. Then bah, like ah! Yeah, I love it. And then on a slightly more serious note, I think the dreams were super interesting in Mass Effect 3. It was a really interesting tonal shift for the game because, like, aside from the suicide mission, I think 1 and 2 were more lighthearted games than 3. 3 was pretty dark. Like a kid dies in front of you in the first 10 minutes. So I think, you have the dreams about this child in the fire. You have this slow motion through the dark forest. You have there are like these wisps all around you and they're whispering. And it's just, the first time I played it and I saw one of these dreams, it made me like sit up, like, what is going on now? Like, what is this? But I think it really added to the darkness of Mass Effect 3, and kind of, it was a really nice look at Shepard's mental state and the pressure that she was under. So I thought they were very cool.
I like again, like we sort of alluded to it there, like earlier, it was basically survivor's guilt, basically, and she's sort of feeling through that, especially in the dreams.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so I thought they were very cool and separated the game a lot from the previous two.
No, definitely. What didn't you like about the game?
So, something that is not a problem anymore in Legendary Edition, but something I didn't like was how you can affect your readiness rating with multiplayer.
Fuck, I'd actually forgotten about multiplayer. I'd actually forgotten, like, I should have put that on my notes. How did I forget multiplayer?
So I never played the multiplayer. And I was playing Mass Effect 3, and my friend was like, okay, you can't have Shepard survive if you don't do multiplayer. You can't. It's the only way. You have to, it usually affects your readiness rating, blah, blah. And it's like, but I don't want to play the multiplayer, So I was kind of like, I was stressed. And I did literally every side mission I could before I went back to Earth. So I was like, I need to get my readiness rating as high as possible. And I didn't know what was going to be good enough. So I did everything. I was full Paragon all the time, super nice to everybody. And amazingly, it ended up being enough. My friend was gobsmacked. She was like, no, you didn't. You have to do multiplayer. But I managed to get Shepard alive at the end without doing it. But I thought that was kind of unfair because, I mean, it's fine if it's a multiplayer game, but Mass Effect is not a multiplayer game. That was a multiplayer component. And I don't think I don't know, it felt like it had suddenly become a requirement. I guess obviously it isn't, because I managed to get away without doing it. But yeah, it was something. I'm glad that they removed that from Legendary Edition.
I mean, to be fair, multiplayer in Mass Effect 3 is actually genuinely really good, and actually sort of it's again, it does make sense because of the sort of readiness aspect, but in its own right, it's really, really good, and I can't recommend it enough. But I also understand why you wouldn't want to play it, because like I'm a single player person as well. Like I don't really go and delve too much into multiplayer stuff unless it's that good. Like things like Splatoon or even Overwatch, like those are sort of the rare exceptions. But like, I do get it, but for what it is worth, Mass Effect 3's multiplayer is really, really good. So I definitely.
Okay. Yeah, I must try it then, because yeah, I think for me, like I like multiplayer games, but for me it was like I have not. This is a single player experience, and suddenly it isn't anymore. I was like, hang on a second. So yeah, that was something that annoyed me.
It doesn't feel tacked on. I don't put it like that.
Okay, that's cool. Yeah. And yeah, I think the only other thing that annoyed me, and it wasn't really a big annoyance, but we touched on this before, that's Samantha Trainer. I kind of found it annoying how you don't really know you're locked into a romance until it's too late. Because like I said, when I played Renegade, I was a right renegade, and I was going around to everybody because I wanted to see how many romances I could have at one time. But yeah, I found myself locked into the Samantha Trainer romance, and I mean, to be fair, she warned me, and she's got that line where she says I played for keeps, but I was like, whatever, that's just a line. No, it's not. But yeah, it's like I wish I had known the lock-in point before, because yeah, I had gone too far in the game. It was too late for me to go back.
Oh dear. I think that's sort of another thing that's yeah. I think now that you've mentioned, because I never really picked up on it before, and to be fair, I don't think I really had that many romance interests in the Mass Effect series, because there was only one really for me, and that was Chambers.
And
even then, she wasn't an official love interest.
She was yours.
He was mine, damn it, BioWare. She was mine. What would you change from a design point of view then? Or I guess from a narrative standpoint of view then?
Oh, wow. What would I change? I feel like maybe it's just me being greedy, back to the romance, but I would like more romance options available depending on, I would like the romance options not to be limited based on what gender you played as, because I feel like I missed out on some people. But I think though, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think, did they make everybody romanceable by anybody for Andromeda?
I also can't remember for the life of me.
Yeah, because I think they did, because they want everyone to have the choice. But then, funnily enough, I felt like it didn't work, because yeah, it felt like it was just open season on everybody. Because like you're already popular as, you know, the protagonist. Like no one's going to say no to you. But yeah, I think maybe for I think I would want to change some things in one to allow for that to build a bit more, because like I said, with Liara, she's with you straight away. But for 3, actually something that I would change, I was very surprised. I before we talked, I looked up the DLCs because I wanted to make sure I didn't miss any, and I did not know that From Ashes with Javik is DLC. I thought that was part of the main game, and I am amazed it isn't. So that is something I think Javik is very important, like hugely important, and I can't imagine a game without him. I mean, you have someone who's seen the destruction before, and you know, he's stuck up, but he's also incredibly lonely. He's the last of his kind, and yeah, I think he's so interesting. I was shocked. I can't imagine Mass Effect 3 without Javik. So yeah, that should have been main game, I think.
I think you only get a code with the collector's edition, but otherwise you have to pay to get that DLC. At least on the Xbox 360 anyway.
Wow. Wow. And I think as well, Leviathan. I mean, this is very cool DLC content, but I'm like, how is that not part of the main game? Because like, it freaked me out because I'm not a fan of deep water. And I had to like psych myself up to play that part, but it ends up being really beautiful. And like, it was very important for like the lore, I think, of the Reapers and understanding where they came from. Yeah, I mean, I think they should be part of the main narrative. But yeah, I think, yeah, the narrative is so incredibly complex. I would love to see how they did it. I would love to see the charts that they had to like try to, keep track of everybody, because yeah, I can't imagine. It's so complex. It's really is champions, all of them. It's such a feat.
I'm so glad that you actually mentioned how those DLCs were basically DLCs rather than part of the main game. I can't, like, because again, especially Javik from us, it's like,
I can't get over it. I was like, there's no way that was DLC.
It was available day one as well, like at the launch of the game.
I mean,
and like,
it's important. I don't get it. But yeah, I mean, I think he adds so much to the Reaper storyline.
Like, it really does. It really does. Bombshell.
Yeah.
So how would you rate the trilogy? 3 at the top, but what would be second and third?
2 and 1. Yeah.
Simple enough.
Yeah. For obvious reasons, I think. I really liked, I liked Mass Effect 1 as well, of course. But Mass Effect 2, oh my God. Like that game, I think that game is a classic all by itself. If you didn't play 1 or 3, you just played 2. I mean, and not even because of the suicide mission, although obviously that's huge, but like the game starts with you being like blown out into space and dying. It's just like, how does it start off so strong?
How do you follow that?
I know, right? And like the elusiveness, such a cool character. And I really enjoyed telling him to shut up when I was playing his Rocky. But yeah, Mass Effect 2 is so fantastic that it has to go above Mass Effect 1. Just has to. Yeah.
No, that's totally fair. And then just out of general curiosity, I don't know if you'll be able to answer this question, but how would you rank top 3 BioWare games? So Mass Effect 3 at the top, but what would be 2 and 3 there, just out of curiosity?
So this is very embarrassing, but I have not played any of the Dragon Ages. Ooh. I know. They're on my list for a long time. So I think if I played them, I know I would love them. Everyone tells me I would love them. I have to get around to playing them. But yeah, I don't think I can do more. I can't do more rankings because I haven't played those ones. But yeah.
Oh, fair enough.
They're on my list, my ever-growing list of games.
To be fair, my backlog is just basically gone at this point, so I totally get your feelings. I totally get it. Yes, honorable mentions. Go for it.
Yes, so honorable mentions. I would say The Last of Us, and the Hitman games. Yeah. So yeah, it's funny because I chose Mass Effect 3 as my favorite game for this podcast. Even though I wouldn't necessarily say it's my favorite game like ever. But well, I mean, so the reason why I chose it was I think it's had one of the biggest impacts on me when it comes to what game stories can do. Like the way all the different threads are woven together, and like how your choices in the first come back into play in the second and third, like, and how you can have totally different experiences, different characters, like that is incredible. But I think the game that also did that for me on a linear level was The Last of Us, because that really also showed me what video game stories can be. I love part 2 as well, but part 1 especially had the biggest impact on me because of the ending. And we were talking about endings and how important they are and how difficult they are. Like the ambiguity of that ending is so good. And even though I loved part 2, I was like, I know having a part 2 is going to take away a little bit from part 1, because the ambiguity of that ending was everything. And also kind of the horror as you realize that Joe is not a good person, even if you understand him and you're on his side, or like worse, if you don't understand him and you kind of have no choice but to watch watch what he does. Because yeah, I thought it was so interesting the way it played with your emotions, because you were rooting for this person the whole way through. And then, game stories are a great medium because you're an active participant. You're not passive like you would be with, a movie or a TV show. So, but in this case, maybe you don't even want to be an active participant. Like you just, it flips the switch on you, and it's incredible. So yeah, it's that game is another one that kind of showed me the power behind game stories before I got into the industry. Yeah. And for Hitman, I would consider Hitman my favorite game series, so I couldn't just choose one game to talk about. But yeah, I think what makes Hitman so cool, I mean, I love the gameplay of Hitman because I love stealth gameplay, but I love its identity as a series and how it builds upon itself and how it builds on the relationship that 47 has to his own identity and like to Diana and the ICA. But we see him like struggle and grow as someone raised in trauma and unable to reject it. And then we see that build throughout all the Hitman games, like over the course of 20 years. I think it's so well done. And it's so delicate because it's all in the background. Like you have these huge sandboxes to play in and have loads of fun. And if you want, you can run around and slap everyone in the face with a fish. But like, it's for me, it's about the character and the really interesting nuance that character has. Yeah, I love it. I know they're on 007 now, but I can't wait to see what they do with more Hitman, because there's a lot of potential there, I think.
I still need to finish Hitman 3. To my utter shame, I still need to finish it.
I'm glad I didn't give you any spoilers.
But like, I loved what they did initially with Hitman 1 back when it was an episodic release, but Hitman 2, especially Miami. Oh, Miami.
Oh, yes.
Miami is such a standout level. It just it makes me think of the sort of immersive gameplay that you would find in an arcade game now with Dishonored or more recently Deathloop. And well, it's so good. It's so good. But with Hitman, it feels like Miami is the culmination of everything it's learned over the past whenever the original Hitman came out up to that point. Anyway, I think it was 2017 Hitman 2 came out, and so nearly now on 20 odd years at that point. And I feel like I say Miami, but like there are several great missions and worlds in that game, but like especially Miami. It feels like for me that is just a top tier all time level in any game in any genre. Just the amount of choice, the amount of agency that you have in that level is just so good.
Yeah, it's perfect. It's a perfect example for how you can manipulate the environment and the events, like in so many different ways. There's so many choices, like you said. I mean, you don't even have to, like, you can wait for the race to finish, and then like Sierra gets a whole other different route. It's like, oh, it's so good. I think Miami and I love Sapienza. In the first one, Sapienza is probably my favorite because I think it's the best realized town. I mean, that feels like a real place. So you're just walking around a real place. But yeah, the crowds in Miami and the little parties and the different area. I mean, there's so many possibilities in Miami. I think you could never stop playing Miami. You can play it forever and have a different way to complete it every time. Yeah, so good.
At the risk of putting some words in your mouth, I would figure that there would be another series that would get at least an honorable mention here, and that's Tomb Raider.
Oh, it's true. I know. I was thinking that. I was like, I talked about Tomb Raider so much at the start. So yeah, I think what I have noticed about myself and my playstyle is I tend to favor games that have a lot of replay value. Like I replay Hitman a lot, obviously, and also like things like Mass Effect and like The Witcher 3 or something, you know, where your choices matter. And while I love linear games, it's funny, I probably would consider myself to prefer linear games, but I don't replay them as much because for me it's kind of like a movie experience.
It's a one and done type thing.
Exactly. So while I love the Tomb Raider games, I don't tend to replay them, even though I wish I could replay Legends, but I don't tend to replay them because like I've had the experience, you know what I mean? And then that's it. But actually the other day I was really wishing I could play the reboot again, like the first one, but I can't. It was only on PS3. I don't have it anymore. But yeah, because I remember that was a lot of fun. I mean, of course, the other two are as well, but there were like certain locations in that one that were a lot of fun that I would like to revisit. But yeah, the Tomb Raider games are great. I don't know what I would pick as a favorite. Maybe it would be Legends. I'd have to replay Legends again to know for sure. I might hate it now. I played it so long ago and I remember loving it. But yeah, they are games that I don't return to as much as I return to other games, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, that actually does make sense. You do know the first Tomb Raider game of the reboot is actually on the newer gen consoles now as well.
No, is it? It's on PS5.
Oh, sorry, not PS5 and Xbox, PS4 and Xbox One.
It's on PS4? Oh my god. Okay, I might buy it. I didn't know that. I thought it was only PS. Oh my god. Okay. That's happening.
It came out, I think it came out like a little less than 2 years after the original PS3 60 version.
Did they remaster it?
They did.
Well. Okay. Thank you so much. I am finding that. That's awesome. Oh, I'm going to get to replay.
Feels like you were going to mention another game there, just as I was about to say Tomb Raider. What was it?
So I'm going to, I thought you were going to say Dishonored games. So I again have to admit they're on my backlog. Yeah, because every time I tell people, oh, I really like stealth games, they're like, oh, you must love Dishonored. It's like, I haven't played it yet. But yeah.
Someday. Well, in that regard, then, what about Metal Gear?
Oh, yeah. So I haven't played all of them. I've played 4 and 5. I really, I really liked half of 5. I don't know. Have you played it?
I've played everything. Okay. Everything. So yeah, I know where you're coming from. I don't know.
Yeah, I was so into it. And then, like, why does the second half of the game just repeat itself? Like, it's literally what I mean. I was sitting there like, what happened? I mean, this can't be right. They're just giving me the exact same missions, but putting some different parameters on them. Like the exact same missions. The exact same. I was just like, why did they do this? I was so disappointed. I mean, I know I heard the controversies and you know that there was some Kojima Konami issues towards the end of production. So, but yeah, I was loving the game, and then suddenly, it kind of stopped mattering because it was just, yeah, it felt unfinished. I was sad. But I really, really enjoyed the gameplay. Love having Quiet as a companion. She was the best. Yeah, it was cool. It was good stuff. It's fun.
What were your thoughts on 4, out of curiosity?
So I liked 4, but I didn't. I think I only played it once. It was like, I don't know. It was kind of it was weird. It was kind of like, it felt like it took itself too seriously at times, and then other times not seriously enough. It was like, what is this game's identity? I mean, the boss fights were quite cool though. I remember running down corridors away from those, like. But yeah, I think I liked 4, but I don't think I might have replayed it once, but yeah, I played 5 a lot. Yeah, I preferred 5.
I need to stress, like, I liked 5 a lot, but looking back in hindsight, the story can be 4.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, sorry, I should I should clarify. It wasn't the story that brought me back.
No. Gameplay wise, it's the best stealth game of all time for me. Like, gameplay wise, story wise, like I said, 4. I feel like 4 has not aged well with me. 4 was my game of the year. The year it came out, 2008, and it is the most excited I've ever been for a game ever, I would say. And I think it's still a good game. I still think it's a good game, but I think some story elements do not hold up very well, especially the end of that game. I feel like now I can look back on it and go, yeah, that was manipulation, and like maybe that was what Kojima intended, but I don't quite know if that was such a good move. And yeah, I think that's sort of why Metal Gear Solid 4 has just sort of gone down in my estimates. But whereas Metal Gear Solid 2, Metal Gear Solid 3 especially still holds up for me. Like I'm not going to get into the whole thing about Metal Gear Solid 3. I've talked so much about Metal Gear Solid 3 and why it means so much to me anyway, personally and professionally. But Metal Gear Solid 2 still holds up, especially now as we're recording this. Metal Gear Solid 2 is about a month out from its 20th anniversary, and I saw a tweet actually today from Kojima marking the fact that it's been 20 years since Metal Gear Solid 2. And it still holds up, not just gameplay wise, but my God, has that story aged perfectly, especially the themes of that game.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, I must. It's a series that I mean to give more time to, because I am kind of fascinated by like this huge sprawling storyline, and how, I mean, I tried to like figure out the best order to play in, because I know it jumps around in time an awful lot. But yeah, I hear a lot of people talk about 3 as well with a lot of love. Yeah, I must put it on the backlog. There's not enough time.
There's never enough time in the world. Like, Jesus, I'm already building the backlog as it is, and that's just 2021 games. I dread to think what I have going from before 2021. Yeah. Jesus. So, considering what you said earlier about Mass Effect 3 not necessarily being your favorite game ever and all that there, but which means we should probably re-record this episode.
No.
With that in mind.
No, I think I had
2.5 hours down the drain.
No, I mean, so yeah, I kind of well, yeah, my problem is I can't make choices. So I mean, like, in terms of a choice-based game, yes, but then, you know, there are games that are so dear to my heart, like The Last of Us, but that's a very different kind of game, you know what I mean? Like, it's impossible. Who has one favorite game?
I do, apparently. It is
Okay.
The Last of Us.
Yeah, The Last of Us is amazing. Okay.
But also before that, it was Metal Gear Solid 3, so it can change. It can change.
Yeah.
So, bearing those sort of factors in mind, top 3 games ever, what would they be?
Oh my God, no, I just said I can't make choices.
I asked it at the end anyway, so I have to ask it anyway. Mass Effect 3 at the top anyway. What would be second and third?
Jesus. I mean, like, I need an hour and a spreadsheet to decide this. Okay. The Last of Us, obviously. And I'm going to say Hitman Silent Assassin.
Oh.
With the caveat that it's fighting for that position with all the other Hitman games. Yeah, that's a tough one. I don't know. Just take my first answer because I'm going to change my mind.
Oh, that's a perfectly good answer. Like, why Silent Assassin anyway?
So I think Silent Assassin really captures the heart of the series. Like, it's a globe-trotting adventure. You've got like 20, I think there's 20 levels in it, going all around the world. But it's also kind of the first time they really delve into 47's character, because it's the second game. Like, in the first game, he's very much a blank slate. But then when we meet him in this game, he's in a church, like, trying to figure out who he is, because he's just found out about his past and that he was, like, engineered. And so it's really interesting look into his humanity, and he's kind of asking, like, why would God care about me? Like, he didn't even make me. It's so sad. It's heartbreaking. And it's funny because Hitman games don't take themselves too seriously either. But then there are times when they really, really, like, they get to the heart of something, It was just, yeah, I think it's a beautiful game in the way it kind of looks at his humanity and how he rejects it all in the end. Like, he throws everything away at the end. It's sad. And it's also a very fun game. Like, the gameplay is really fun. It's a very tense game too, because, like, back then the AI was super twitchy, so they'd shoot you for literally no reason. So you kind of have to, like, you have to walk around, like, very, very chill all the time. Whereas now in the more modern games, you can run and no one will blink an eye. But in those games, if you run, the guards will, like, stop and take out their guns. So it's a very tense game to play, and the stealth is an awful lot of fun. Yeah, it's a good adventure, that game. I like it.
So I feel like now is a good way to lock in that top 3. Mass Effect 3, Last of Us, and Hitman Blood Money.
No, Silent Assassin.
Oh, Assassin.
Don't change my mind for me.
Jesus Christ.
Blood Money's brilliant as well, though.
Jesus Christ. I don't know why I said Blood Money. I don't know why.
Everyone says Blood Money, actually. Most people I talk to, Blood Money is their favorite. And it's like, it is great, but think about that Silent Assassin.
Jesus Christ. I don't know where I got Blood Money from. And I love how basically the Irish just came out there when I just basically said Blood Money, and it's like, no.
No, you have to get it right. If I have to choose, my choices have to matter. So I'm on Twitter. It's at Aoife O'Friel. And yeah, feel free to pop in and say hi and chat about games. I retweet a lot more than I post, so I should probably change that. Make sure people actually have something to engage with. But yeah, I'm mostly on Twitter. That's where I am usually.
Aoife, real, what is your favorite game?
My favorite game is Mass Effect 3.
You wait 7 years to do a Mass Effect episode, and then all of a sudden, in the space of a year, 2 episodes come along on 2 of the games in the trilogy. It's I don't know what that's about, but I'm honestly here for it.
They're like buses.
They are like buses. They are very much like buses.
It's got this through line of capitalism bad, and then like the current Ratchet and Clank games are, we are capitalism. So it's like, oh no, what's happened?
Gameplay wise, game design wise, it's fields ahead. It's not even close. And also it controls, everything is better. It's just there's nothing wrong with that game.
I'm talking maybe 3 weeks after I finally saved up enough points and they made it a tenth of the price it used to be. And I was like, right, that's it. All that work for that, just to be undermined.
No, it's not only a game. You're too deep in these characters to be. You know what you're doing. You know what you're doing to get her. She's all fighting demons, and like, you know, she's doing the same thing. I was like, no, that's not true.
I would spend hours just perfecting this microsecond time management, resource management, putting these there, and then we go there. I love it. You know what? Now that I'm thinking about it and saying it out loud, it's not that different from Dark Souls.
Each of these like narratives that we've attached to the different difficulty levels is just a little character study on, you know, on the team boss, and, you know, just like you unraveling the layers of them slowly.
So it's really, there's some really interesting use of a combination of design and messing with players' expectations through theming, which I think is really interesting.
They went down the road of, yes, let the player have different ways to achieve their goals. So you can definitely talk your way into a place, or fight people, or sneak around and find a different way in. Or like in the Divinity games, there's almost too much player agency because there's really weird things you could do.
This is hot take, but I do think it's the best way I can convey how much kind of opportunity there was at the time for what it was, which was essentially a virtual pet game.
I loved it because obviously it's gone harking back to those days of like classic couch co-op split screen. So I could play it with someone else and they had their own character, and I miss that. I miss couch co-op split screen so much.
I think that was the first time whereas I spent, I don't know, a good hour waiting for a random multiplayer person to help me, because I was like, I can't fucking do this.
My favorite game.
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 My favorite game is